Hey y'all, it's Kara with Goat For It Farm, and let me tell you about the wildest weekend I think I've ever had. Honestly, I really think this one wins it all. So first off, this weekend we had lots of very severe weather. We had flash flooding. In fact, flash flood warnings in a place that is known to have droughts. But no, we had flash flood warnings. We got over a foot of rain over the span of a few days, and parts of town were so flooded that it was getting into people's homes. Now, thankfully, we do have kind of a slope to our property, and it drains out into a creek over there. Actually, there's some natural springs out back that then flow down into a creek over that way. So very thankful we have decent drainage, but as you can see, it is soggy up in here. And so we figured the worst of the storms had passed us. But no, even though we'd had multiple tornado warnings in our area, thankfully they weren't right on us. But then Saturday morning came along. Saturday morning, it was about 9 a.m. I'd gotten up, I was having my breakfast, and we hear a wild storm come up. Like the wind was howling. And we've had some strong high wind storms here before. We're in Arkansas, and we definitely are used to severe weather happening, but this wind was nothing I had ever heard before. In fact, I ran to the closet. I was like, no, I'm gonna get away from the windows, because it scared me the way that it sounded. And our power then went out. It flickered a few times, and then it went out. And it didn't come back on for a while. And that's because I really believe a spin up, it didn't affect our property, thankfully, but our neighbors up here and down the road, and even if you keep going down past, this entire lane has trees in all sorts of directions. Trees on homes, huge trees that fell on homes, on buildings, on barns. I think everyone is okay, thankfully. But wow, it's just scary, because as you can see, we have really tall trees all around our property, and we were really blessed to not have any of them on our property or my parents' property fall. But we still had to address the fact that, we didn't have power, for one, and we had eggs in the incubator and baby chicks in a brooder. So we knew we had to move them, but our road was blocked because some of the trees actually fell on our road. There were power lines down on our road. And thankfully, it was like everybody on our road got out there with the chainsaws and got the road cleared as quickly as possible. The power company was out here so fast getting those lines off the ground. And thankfully, the lines didn't have power to them because a breaker flipped as well. So really just thankful that it wasn't worse than it was. And so we were able to then load up all the chicks, the incubators, and everything, and take it to my Nana and Pops, who were in town and did not lose power. So here's a clip from that. Well, the power went out, so we have our 2 incubators plugged into a little generator we have, and we have the chicks in a shoebox, and we are taking them to a place that has power. Thankfully, my Nana and Pop don't live too far from us, and we're going to take them there. I am a little concerned about them having to go on a little ride, but we're just going to try and take it slow and get them settled when we get there. So we got everything settled at my Nana and Pop's, and then we come back to do some chores and make sure the animals are okay, get them some more straw on the ground, feed them up, and Dottie goes into labor. Dottie, who's not due until April 10th, went into labor on April 5th, and I think it really was due to the stress of all these storms. So I'm just going to kind of talk through what happened while you see it. Dottie, she was just kind of laying there. She didn't seem to be in super distress, but I did hear her calling out in a different voice than usual. They usually have a very different tone when they go into labor. And I hadn't noticed any signs that she was about to go into labor. In fact, she had been with the herd, like foraging when the rains had paused. And there she was, laying in this pen with her leg kicked out, ready and pushing. And there was already a bubble presented. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. We were out here doing tours. I was like, Brett, Wyatt, get the labor stuff, because it's a soaked ground. I mean, like I said, we've had we've never seen this amount of rain before. And the infrastructure couldn't handle it, really. And so the ground was way more saturated than I would have liked. The straw was not dry on the ground. And so I wanted to get puppy pads or towels or something. That way we could start drying off those babies and they wouldn't be born on a cold, wet surface. Because after those tornadoes go through, if you have that kind of severe weather, after that front goes through, a lot of times it cools down majorly. And so we had like a 20-degree drop at least. And then we were in the 50s when we'd been almost in the 80s Fahrenheit. So anyways, I go in there and she's pushing. I'm not worried at all, but I see some legs are coming out and they don't look like front legs. And when a baby comes out breech, you have to get them out of the canal quickly, because if the umbilical cord, when it is either pinched too hard to where the baby's not getting oxygen, or it separates, what's going to happen is that baby's going to start trying to breathe. And if they're still in the canal, their head is still in the canal, and they can't breathe in air, they're going to be breathing in those fluids, making it even harder for them to actually clear their lungs when they get out. So I did help Dottie with her first one, pulling that one out, because I did notice it was breech. Come on, baby. Get that head out. Oh, God. Need to get that head out. Okay, baby. Okay. It probably breathed in some amniotic fluid. Can you get me a... Okay. You got it, baby. Hey, that was breech. That's the first breech baby you've had. And I did have to give this goat mouth to mouth because it wasn't breathing right. And I did not want to lose any of these babies. And Cash, I mean, this is his first group of kids. It's Dottie's first ever kids. And I love them so much. I wanted to give them their best shot. So Dottie, I got her first one out of there. And then she had very quickly the second and the third one present. Unfortunately, the second one was too small. And rather than just being too small, we've had a small kid before. I just think this baby did not have a good placental attachment from like their umbilical cord to the placenta. It just, even though it was in there long enough, it did not fully develop. It just, it couldn't hold itself up. It had the hair, it had the teeth, but its organs had to have not been there. To their full capacity that they needed to be. Particularly, I'm thinking the lungs. We worked so hard to help this baby, and it just wasn't enough. It ended up going into kind of like agonal breathing and respiratory distress, and it was just too much for it. We tried giving it, breaths blowing in its face, stimulating it, and it didn't make it. But we do have two of Dottie's babies doing amazing, and I can't wait to show you. Good girl.
Look how small he is.
Oh no. They're so cute.
Small.
He's very chocolatey. I don't know if she'll be a chocolate or not yet.
Oh, Dottie. Dottie, you did so good. You did so good. I can't believe you did it yesterday.
I know, I can't either.
New baby, Charlo. New babies. Yes, good girl. You too, good job. You be nice to them. You gotta protect those babies, Sansa. You're a big baby.
So the babies are doing great. Dottie is doing phenomenal. And absolute blessing yet again is that we have some electricity now. We still don't have water. Our well was sent into the distance, woo, with those strong winds. It was knocked about 10-15 feet away. So we don't have water right now. But hey, we're blessed to have electricity. We were able to move the chicks back home. And the eggs that we have incubating, they're going to stay at my Nana and Bob's. I do not want to transport them again. I hate that I had to transport them in the first place, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and they definitely wouldn't have made it or had much of a chance if I hadn't. So yeah, it's been a crazy weekend. Hope your weekend wasn't as crazy and that you had a good one. And if you were in the way of any of those storms, that you stayed safe. And hopefully next video will be much more dry. Well, we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. And don't forget, y'all, if you have a dream, go for it. Bye, y'all.